This week we're up the front of Brupeg pulling some cool stuff apart. Jess has a bit of a lie-up, I try to be cool with the kids, Jess finds a unique way of using a pipe spanner, and then we both do the hokey-tokey with the crane, because that's what it's all about.
One young couple from down under fighting against all odds to bring their dream to life. Through the ups and downs, good health and bad, they have persevered even when their tired bodies say no. Patience, knowledge, and a gritty crew have all come together to start the adventure of a lifetime. Join Jess and Damien as they plow the high seas with their new home and exploration headquarters.
This morning's job is tackling this big lump of iron. What we need to do is strip this thing down. We're going to do it up on the foredeck here, just because it's much easier to take it apart up here. Got plenty of space, and it also means we don't have it lying around in the ground. We need to deal with the crack that's on the side. You can see there's grease and oil everywhere around this sort of general area. We've got to strip the whole thing down and repair the crack on the inside of that cast housing. So that's not something that we're going to be able to do here. I don't have the skills to weld. I'm not sure if it's cast steel or cast iron, I don't know yet, and I don't have those skills, so we're going to take it to a workshop in town that's able to fix it for us.
We also need to redo this.
That's true, yes.
And there's something else we need to do, brake or something, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, so there's two things. So this shaft has got a slight bend in it, and the threads on here, you can see that they're all worn. So down here there's no wear on them, they're nice and sharp.
If you go over the top, you can see the...
I'll come around.
You can see that shape. See how it's...
Yeah, you can see
like
that.
that.
It's basically tapered in here, and there's a lot of wear on the teeth just here. So basically out here there's not a lot of wear, but you can also see the teeth are asymmetric. They're all pulled in that direction. There should be a uniform angle, and you can see they're all pulled in that direction there. So there's been a shite load of strain on this thread. This is worn out because the brake disc is wearing on this, so it's not built correctly in terms of where their measurements are.
Right.
And there's a few things that we need to fix. So by getting this shaft replaced, we can repair not only the bent shaft, but basically fix all of these design flaws in one go.
We got this from someone in the yard. It's second hand off a boat that sunk, and we knew that it would need a bit of work, but we didn't think that it had a fracture. We kind of figured we'd have to probably do the shaft and things, but yeah, it's a bit of work. We're not sure how much it's going to cost, so we'll take my glasses off. So we'll get it in there, and they'll give us a quote.
And we'll panic about that cost
later on.
We'll
panic about that, but then we'll realise that this is a $7,000 something.
Yeah,
new.
It's a Borg Warner winch, and like
it's a beautiful design though.
Yeah, it's kind of 174,000 years old, so it's built. It's built the way they used to build winches when the dinosaurs were around.
So it'll last.
Yeah.
But
it weighs about 9 tonne and can lift 2 tonne, so it's pretty strong.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's nice. It's come from a local boat, so we really want to hold on to it, because a lot of this build is about the history of this boat. You know, it's known around here. It's actually known right up and down the east coast. Brupeg used to port in an island in the Gulf of Carpentaria. Brain injury. It's good practice. That's in the north. Have a look on Google Maps to have a little squiz. Apparently Brupeg's name is up on a rock. Way too big and way too obvious. Everyone was putting their names on all the boats.
Everyone was doing appropriately sized letters, and then the guys that were on Brupeg at the time
decided they needed to be 10 times as big.
They needed a billboard.
It's funny, Brupeg sort of nature was already there, you know. We were just kind of carrying on the tradition. Thanks, Trev.
Yeah, this is Trev's little manual pump, so we can pump oil out.
You thought it might come in handy one day? Wow, that was fast.
Oh, hello, there's oil in there.
There's oil.
Okay, there's more oil than I first anticipated.
Should we get some cloths and put them on the deck so we don't have to deal with too much more on the deck?
Yeah.
It might roll down and...
Yeah, I'm just doing it up, hang on. So there's more oil in this than I first anticipated. I thought that we'd eloquently put it across the deck. And
yeah.
So, have a look at the top of this. I'm hoping I might be able to feed the pipe down to the bottom. I seriously doubt that, because there's a big gear here, and I think it's just going to get in the way. If I can get the pipe down to the bottom, I might be able to actually suck quite a bit of it. Oh, maybe we just take the lid off. It's not all the way up. It's up to about here somewhere probably. So if I just crack the top off, we'll be able to basically just see straight down and pull it out that way.
So in terms of the hydraulic fluid, if you keep this intact, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? You don't have to undo it?
Correct. So there's 2 lots of oil in this whole thing. There's the hydraulic oil, which is in this mechanism here and that motor, and then there's the oil that's in the gears in here, which is basically from there forward and there down. So so they're completely independent of each other. So if I undo this without touching any of these, if I just unbolt this and take it away, then yeah, we don't have to touch or re-bleed the system or anything. We also have to put Denso tape over all of these to keep them protected.
Yeah, a little bit of tidying and work.
Yeah. Actually, what I can do is take this off, because this has a hole in there.
Ah, you might be able to see.
Yeah, I might be able to actually see further down. I do need a bit of lemon lubrication oil.
Where was this a year ago?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. You want to know the ironic bit? It was sitting on a shelf downstairs.
When you're so busy and so everything is just so put on all the time, you don't think straight.
Okay, that is sealant around there, so it is tight. But
Do you want a screwdriver to wedge it or?
yeah.
Oh no. Oh no, it's not going. Don't hit your hands.
Can you get a prying bar?
Okay.
Stay. Not really that deep, is it?
Right.
I think it's just curling up.
Yeah, I think so too.
Give it a go.
Never know.
Nah, I'm in the middle here. Yeah, let's crack the top off. We'll be able to crack the top off. It's not deep enough.
Fun.
Hey?
Fun.
Fun. Needed to get the next size up socket.
Okay, so we're going from that to that.
Try and not undo now from 7.
Fun, fun, fun.
So it's Imperial. It's going to be smaller than that. Trying to find the right socket. It's Imperial, and I can't count when it comes to Imperial.
Well, who can, you know?
Yeah. Don't know what's going on. Okay. Well, we'll go manual. Pull that apart and see what's going on.
Yeah.
It'll be something simple.
Be good to be able to have it available.
Yeah.
When you're in a hurry, you know, stopping the boat sinking. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be bigger than that. 16, isn't it? Yep.
I remember a little bit different than last time.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different last time.
Yeah. Was.
How long did it take us? It was
This is how I used to strip engines down.
yeah, I know, you look very comfortable.
It took me about an hour to do an engine.
The way to do things. We're going to be able to see the internals of this thing, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. Keyway, that stops it from turning. I'll spin it.
That sits inside, eh?
Yep, there's a slot machine. There's a slot machine in the base and also in this. Jams the two together. There we go. So there's your keyway cut into it, and you've got a little grub screw there, which you can see coming through there, and that's what locks the pin to stop it from flopping around, rattling. There's another one on that side as well to lock this to the shaft.
Lovely design, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it's pretty elegant. Yeah. Just a couple of things, like this is probably not the original shaft.
No.
And this, like the, hang on, I'll get the bearing thingy. This is what the chain runs in. You see the links of the chain fit in here. And inside that's just a smooth bore. It's designed to spin on the shaft freely. You've got a flat face there, and a flat face there. And that is supposed to get sandwiched between two, well, oftentimes it used to be asbestos, but basically brake pads essentially. And on this thread here, you've got a big nut that you can lock off, and it squashes this here between all of the brake pads and the metal, you know, various wear surfaces and so on in this area here. And it's a great system. It works really, really well. So if you ever need to just dump your anchor and your hydraulics aren't working, you can just unlock this nut, and then it all just spins and the anchor goes out, and then you can tighten it back up and stop the chain from, you know, freewheeling. It's a great system. The trouble is that if this isn't machined right, so for example this thread, theoretically this is a coarse thread, and I have a feeling that if this was a fine thread you'd be able to get a lot more pressure on without putting so much wear onto these teeth. And also you can see here, they're all worn here, so there was obviously something wearing here that shouldn't have been here. It should have been over on this part of the steel. So this measurement here I think is wrong as well. So there's a few things that we can correct when we get a new shaft made. It'll probably be a bit longer, but it'll be a better design overall. And
this is kind of your area, isn't it? Machining. And
this is what I used to do for a job, is basically build stuff like this. We used to build gearboxes for classic race bikes. So someone would give us a check and we would make every single component, machine it up, and then hand them a 6-speed close ratio gearbox for like a Norton or BSA, like a 1950s motorbike.
Just say hello to Bruce.
Yeah, hi Bruce, TT Industries, whoop whoop. My South African boss Bruce, he was awesome. So we've got to be careful, these seals are brand new. Just got to make sure we don't cause any damage. So
that's
they're
right,
okay.
Remember that. There's a bit of rust, isn't there?
Yeah, there's no wear on them, they're fine.
Look at that rust.
Yeah.
Where's that from?
This rust here, mate. Oh, that fell out there?
Yeah,
that,
there.
Just lack of oil flinging around.
Okay.
Okay, so you got to be careful. No screwdrivers anywhere near the seals if you're trying to reuse them. So there's plenty of rust because it's just been sitting, it hasn't been used. There's lots of oil in there, but it's just been sitting. So that
it needs to move around.
We need to splash it around a lot.
Yeah.
So.
It's all surface though, right?
Yeah. It'll take 50 years for this to rust out.
Right. Let's have a little look see in there.
So these are the bearings that we replaced last time, so we'll clean those fully and we'll repack them. But they're all new bearings as well. You can see the grease that's in the bearings. That's the grease that I put in when I packed it.
That's good.
Eventually that'll wash out and you'll just have oil in there, but it's just done very little use, so the oil's never got, you know, washed around enough to do it. This is my element.
I know, you seem so happy.
Fixing machines.
Yeah. Everyone has their thing, eh?
Yeah.
I wanna send you a letter again, to find out for the 4th time there's nothing here for us to begin. Why do I do it to myself? What's it gonna take for me to listen? Pragmatic people always win. Take pity on the piper, everybody wants to follow him, but he don't know where he goes. He's just busy trying to find the flow. Everybody keeps telling me to dream, do anything if you believe. Don't settle for the simple.
Quite rusty.
This is actually a like a drip tray, so as this flings around, it's got a couple of jobs. What it does, it catches oil flinging off this wheel and runs down into this. If we go vertical, you might be able to see there's a little wee catch tray that runs right the way around, and then that comes off to these bearings. So this flinging around basically gets oil picked up from here, dropped into this tray, which lubricates these bearings, which then runs down to the bottom. So
you see that oil down the bottom, that's what we're trying to get to. It's the point of this, really, isn't it?
The lovely shiny stuff down there. It's going to curl up. Hang on. You can do this, it's not that complicated, Damien. Helps if you go the other way.
That's it!
Don't blow the oil out.
It's pretty clean, isn't it?
Pretty new.
Look at that.
We can definitely reuse this, it's brand new oil.
I think there's enough to risk that now, eh?
Yeah, let's go to the bottom. Now that we've managed to get the oil level low enough, I've been able to crack this bung, which is the filler bung. So previously I filled it from the top, didn't really click on that this was even here. Really stupid maneuver, I probably should have. Basically I overfilled it, which really didn't matter because we didn't use it, but obviously we'll fill it and empty it and so on from this point here. But now that we've got the oil level below here, we can actually stick the pump into this and suck it from this area here. We're not risking pouring oil all over the deck and adding to the oil that's already over the deck.
It keeps telling me to dream. Oh, when dreams are what they seem. Just another way to run.
We're gonna get inside.
Everybody keeps telling me.
Okay, so that's a worm drive. So this hydraulic motor here spins that shaft around that way and obviously goes the opposite way if you want to reverse the drive. And all that does is basically, as these spin, the teeth in this thing, the big gear, basically go forward and back, so it spins, rotates that way. So it converts rotation in that way to a rotation in this way, if that makes sense. And that's why you've got that very specific shape on these teeth. So the worm drive teeth sort of slide through like that, through these teeth here. If I cut that down, ground that out on each of these, I could probably in future get to them, but I can't in this instance. I need to get a like a ratchet ring spanner or something onto them.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Jess figured this is an opportune time to have a lie down, or a lie up, sit up, lie up, down, sit.
Oh well, I know you told me on the phone our bubble had been broken and we weren't who we wanted to be. But I couldn't let it go. My dreamer didn't want to listen. I couldn't hear a no. A plane over the ocean when all we really wanted was home. But all those big brown eyes, I had to see them one more time. Everybody keeps telling me to dream. Do anything you
That's just the spline shaft that goes onto this adapter. And you can see that's when that's running. You see in there, when that's running, that's what the winch motor's doing. Basically spinning that.
They're noisy too a bit.
That's right, these were the bearings.
That's right, we needed to change out 2 bearings or something.
The noisy bearings we didn't replace.
Yeah, we only had a small amount of money.
They were $350 each, and we thought the worst case scenario is they're noisy, they're not going to fall apart. They were still pretty tight, they just were grumbly. Same deal, there's nothing wrong with that seal, it's brand new. It's just been a bit of UV exposure out here, so it's been in the sun for a while. but it's still got nice and plenty of grease around it, and it's no rips or anything, so we'll reuse that seal. So you can see the front bearing coming out. This is the front bearing. So this surface here fits in the housing. We've just got to basically pull it out. So these are also thrust bearings. That's why they're so expensive. They've got to hold load this way as well as this way, so the thrust is that way. So this is the shaft that takes the load of the anchor. So when the anchor is trying to go out the front of the boat and you're anchored in 80 knots and it's really hauling on the chain and it's trying to spin this gear, this shaft will be, these bearings will be resisting 100% of that load. Something has to mechanically be the thing that holds the anchor chain essentially, right? Or else it'll all just free spin. And those bearings, the hydraulic motor stops the shaft from turning. That's the first part of the equation. And the second part of the equation is the shaft will try and go forward or back depending on which way the chain is trying to pull. So these bearings are thrust bearings, so they stop that shaft. They take that load of that shaft trying to go in one particular direction.
How?
Just the way that they're designed. So oftentimes they'll have like the layout of the bearings might be, say, a cone, and instead of being like just a row of needle rollers or ball bearings or whatever, the more you push against the bearing, the more it pushes against the housing. So it's just a different design, and it's partly why they're so expensive, because they've got to do quite a lot of things, whereas normal ball bearing or whatever might only work in one direction. These have got to work in multiple directions.
This little close up of Damien's grey hair, look at that little silver fox going on. This boat has turned you grey.
There we go. There we go.
Lovely.
The fox has left the hole. Okay. Right. So, grumbly old bearings. There's one more seal down the back end here. This is again another seal that we replaced, I don't know, 18 months, 2 years ago. So it's brand new, done virtually no work, so we're going to use that again. The job of this seal is to stop the oil that's in the gearbox unit here from contacting the hydraulic motor which bolts onto this end. There's absolutely no need for the oil from this end to come into this side of the unit. So this seal basically keeps them separated. Okay, you can see there, again the seal's in great nick. There's plenty of grease and oil around. When we put this together, we put grease and oil everywhere. Just needs a little bit of a clean up, a little bit of surface rust, but that's great. And you can see all the grease, the red grease in there. That's what I did last time round when we did it. I basically packed the absolute bejeepers out of this thing with grease so that it would have a little bit of lubrication on those first few startups. It's good to see it's still there.
Yeah, no use at all.
No, it's probably turned over maybe a dozen times in that time, and that's it. And that was just testing when we put the whole thing together. But that's, I mean, you can put that back in without any drama because it's got enough grease to start it up. The trouble is this bearing is, you hear that, that's really, really loud for a bearing that's full of grease. And that's the trouble. Here's one. That's what it should sound like.
So we need to replace this? Is now the time?
Yeah. In an ideal world, yeah, absolutely.
How
You'd
much is
replace
that one?
$350, and I need 2 of them.
So what does it matter if it's loud?
So this is one of those things that, like, a mechanic knows what they can get away with on their car. So you could run with this, and this is why we put them in last time, right? We didn't have the money to replace them. So in an ideal world, you'd put new bearings in, no questions asked. However, if you don't have the money, or you're in the middle of nowhere and you can't get bearings, a grumbly bearing doesn't fail just like that. Like, they'll deteriorate over time, and they'll get louder and louder and louder, and then they'll start to, they won't just stop working, they'll start to jam up and they'll start to do funny things. They won't just fail immediately, or at least I've never seen one fail immediately. I'm sure somewhere on the corner of the internet there's someone that's had one explode on them, but that's very, very rare. Normally they'll fail gradually, so you can still run with this. It's just that it's going to be noisy and get noisier and noisier as you go.
So we need to change it out.
Yeah, definitely.
We need to while we've got it open.
Yep.
I mean, look how much work it is.
Oh yeah. It's never going to be.
Time.
It's never going to be easier to change.
We'll
it than
talk
now.
about our budget and see what we can do. We may not be able to, but let's see.
Yeah.
So big bolts and then lift it off.
Yeah. Maybe it won't come out. Oh no, it will. Wow. Didn't expect that to happen.
I remember everything came out the first time, eh?
Yeah.
We did it.
Might see if I can replace those because yeah, that's not coming out now. So a trick if you've ever got a bolt that's really hard, like rusted in or whatever, is hit it. You're not trying to turn it, you just want to shake all the threads to break any rust. There you go, look at that. That's one of the troubles with an impact driver. If you hit it with an impact driver, it's trying to push down and turn at the same time, and it can often just rip the top of the screw apart, whereas if you just get a screwdriver and hit it directly down and don't try and turn it, you end up breaking all the rust, and then you can just turn it by hand.
That's fine, it's not going anywhere up here. That might work. Let's try that.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh, that one was loose. One job we have to do before we put all of this back together is fix the alignment of the deck. So you can see here, there's a pad here, big square pad welded in, that's slightly above the deck line. You can sort of see it drops off over here about maybe, I don't know, 5-6 mil, something like that. Where my finger is along that line, there's a weld line there. This is a big slab of stainless, and this is all mild steel. This is where the old anchor winch used to sit. Basically the problem is that of the 4 corners of this, one of them is up higher, so it doesn't sit right, and we have to fix that before we bolt it down tight, and that's partly why these bolts weren't stupid tight. They were nipped up, but not like ridiculous. The way I'm going to fix it is really simple. It's literally just get a slab of steel and drill it to suit the base pattern of this, and then put it on the deck and weld it. It doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, it just has to be perfectly flat so that this will be bolted down tight and flat. So that's my solution, and it saves me having to muck around with this stainless and the mild steel. I can just put it on top, weld the whole thing in, and be done with it.
Whose idea was it to put the crane on?
Oh, isn't it awesome? Now that we've got this winch base down on the ground, we're taking it into one of the specialty engineers in town that does our complicated stuff. This is cast iron welding, something that although I could probably learn, I'm not willing to try on something that we need to depend on like an anchor winch. So Jess and I have decided that we're taking it in and we're going to get them to weld it for us. So the crack is over in this corner at the back here. And you can see it down in the base there, right in that corner.
You can see it out here.
Now that we know where we're finding the leak, you know.
Look at that. Looks like it's been done before.
Is it? So you can see there's a possible lump there, and there's bubbly, crappy paint along there, which is where I think the weld... I think this whole corner's been repaired before, all the way around there.
So
Right the way in that corner there.
Just a little bit further.
There's only a little crack though. Like, it needs to be dug out and V'd right out and welded up and everything. It's a bit of a repair.
Unless it's simple.
Yeah.
Unless there's something under that bubble.
Well, you'd repair it from the outside. So if it were me doing this repair, I'd get a grinder and just rip all of this out, clean, do a big V all the way in there, and then just fill it all back up with weld. But the trouble is, this is either cast steel or cast iron. I'm not sure which. I think it's cast iron. Yeah, I think it's cast iron, but cast iron is still weldable. So if it was me, I would basically cut all of this whole corner out with a grinder, just dig right in there, get it out.
Is that a weld?
I don't know. I'm just going to get a screwdriver.
You can see it right along. Curiosity got the better of us. Dame just used a normal grinder, but they'll do it properly when we take it in.
So you can see there's a mark there. I've basically probably, the metal's been folded over the crack, but that crack will go right, you can sort of see it out there and out there. It'll come right the way down here somewhere. So the only way to really know what you're dealing with is just to dig all of this away with a grinder.
It looks like there's a crack there, eh?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's probably it right there. So the way they normally repair a crack like this in cast iron is they'll drill a hole at each end to stop it from growing, and then they'll V the whole thing out. But they'll also, oh there you go, you can kind of see there's a line in the shade, you can see that line. So they'll magnetically crack test this probably. So they'll magnetise this whole block, and then they'll put iron filings over it. And that's exactly what you're seeing there, is the iron that I just ground out is magnetised to the edge, and it always goes to the crack. So the iron filings will form exactly.
You can really see it, can't you? Really?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. So it's pretty conclusive that that's the crack. That's how we used to crack test cast iron engine blocks and heads and stuff. Is put it in a great big magnet, magnetise the whole thing, and then sprinkle iron over it, and that's exactly what it shows up.
Dame and I really enjoyed taking apart the anchor winch. It heralds an important turning point getting closer to launch. This was one of the last jobs before we start working on the hull, getting it sandblasted and painted. We'll get this into the shop. The guys will let us know what it'll take to fix it, and hopefully we'll go ahead with that. In the meantime, we're still working on organising the tools, workbench downstairs, and all the other bits and pieces. And of course, Stu got launched. See ya!